Ceann Comhairle. Minister, next Wednesday, Aer Lingus pilots will embark on industrial action commencing with an indefinite work to rule. The announcement represents a deepening of the pilots' pay dispute with the company, and indeed this dispute didn't come out of the blue. The frustration of pilots has been building for a long time as Aer Lingus failed to deliver pay and conditions improvements in line with colleagues in British Airways and Lufthansa. So, Minister, the airline needs to re-engage with the pilots' union, get back around the negotiating table and hammer out a fair deal. We're still a week away from the start of industrial action, so there is still time to sort this out and to avoid any escalation. We're heading now into peak holiday season. There's now real worry for people who've booked their summer holidays and are really looking forward to a break with their family or friends. Holidaymakers are now stressed out that they may face disruption at airports, delays, the prospect of cancellations, and indeed those who may have booked their accommodation separately to their flight risk losing out if their flight is cancelled. They may lose out on money. The chaos that engulfed Dublin Airport in the summer of 2022 is still very fresh in people's memories, so this sense of anxiety is entirely understandable. The situation is also, of course, very worrying for our tourism sector at what is their busiest time of the year. This sector is still only recovering from the impact of the pandemic, and hotels, bed and breakfast, tourist attractions, restaurants, local economies across Ireland need a summertime that goes as smoothly as is possible. Any disruption to tourists landing here for holidays is a setback. So the aim now must be to assure people that there will be no disruption to summer in Ireland, to assure holidaymakers flying in and out of the country that their holidays will go as planned, and this means resolving this dispute with urgency. Aer Lingus should use the next 7 days to negotiate a fair deal with the pilots that averts this industrial action, and of course this must involve the industrial relations machinery of the state. But every influence now needs to be brought to turn things around and ensure a successful outcome. The key is to get both parties back around the table with meaningful objectives and a willingness to strike an agreement. Given the serious nature of this dispute, I believe there is a role for government to play, for the Minister for Enterprise, Peter Burke, the Minister for Transport, Eamon Ryan, to intervene in a constructive way to help sort this out. Is cúis mór imní an tainnis in Aer Lingus dóibh siúd atá tar éis leitheanta sira a có in áirithes na seachtaní amach roing. Agus dóir Arnold turas óiacht becóir den rialtas idir gáháil dhéanamh bhealach fiúnta chun tacu le sucrú cothram a winch amach. Minister, a strike is not in anybody's interest. The sooner this dispute is resolved fairly, the better for pilots, for the airline, for passengers and for our tourism and hospitality sector. So can I ask, what does the government propose to do to avert the industrial action scheduled for next Wednesday?
Thank you, Deputy MacDonald. Minister, please.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle, and thank you to the Deputy for raising this issue. I think you're right, we're not the only ones who are discussing this matter. I think the length and breadth of the country, there are people around their kitchen tables, there are businesses, there are people abroad who are looking to come home over the summer that are extremely concerned and worried at the potential for strikes taking place. There are families who have saved all year round, potentially in once-in-a-lifetime holidays. There are businesses, not just here but abroad, that depend on the ability to be able to travel. And of course there are people hoping to come home who perhaps haven't been home to see family or friends in a long time. So this impacts a huge amount of people personally, but also businesses, the length and breadth of this country and outside of it. The only way that a dispute of this kind can be resolved is by all parties getting around the table. I appreciate that a significant number of pilots, quite a high percentage, have voted for this action, but I also believe that none of them want to see this type of disruption taking place. None of them want to have this level of disruption impact all of our society. It's important that they and the employers here, being Aer Lingus, get around the table. That's the only way in which these issues can be resolved. There has been input from the industrial machinery of the state. through the WRC and then later the Labour Court, what's clear is that there is still quite a wide gap between what is being asked and what is being proposed. But again, the only way that this can be resolved is by all parties getting around the table and, if necessary and where necessary, using the machinery of the state. If that means going back to the WRC, if that means engaging and negotiating with the support of the state, or if that means again re-engaging with the Labour Court. This is what government is proposing. This is what both ministers are suggesting, but government as a whole are recommending. And I would ask people maybe to take a step back, because the implications here are far-reaching. The implications for, as I said, those who have holidays booked, those who wish to travel, but I suppose our reputation internationally as well, the disruption that this could cause is absolutely significant. So the only way that this can be resolved by all parties coming around the table, by all parties taking a step back, by looking at the potential implications here, by looking at what the potential options are to find a resolution to this, and that is what government will continue to pursue, and that is what our overall objective is here, to reduce the implications, to reduce the impact overall on everyone here. But this is about people getting around the table and trying to reach a conclusion and a solution as quickly as possible.
Minister. Deputy MacDonald.
Thank you for that, Minister. And I absolutely agree with you. This is a source of huge anxiety now for so many people who have looked forward to their summer holiday travel, who indeed have saved, scrimped and saved for family holidays, for holidays with friends, for weddings or other family occasions abroad, or indeed for people, as you say, who are planning to come home. I'm also conscious of our hospitality industry in particular, who have endured so much disruption in recent times and who must really despair at the thought of further disruption. You are quite correct to say that the only way that this can be sorted out is for all parties to come around the table in a spirit of goodwill and a willingness to deal and to arrive at a conclusion. But I'm unclear what the government is proposing to do. You see, I don't think it's sufficient to simply sit back, cross your fingers and hope that that is the outcome. I believe that if the parties are not of their own volition coming to the table for talks, then it is appropriate for the government to bring Aer Lingus and to bring the pilots together. It's absolutely essential that we sort this out. You have a week. And I'm asking the government not simply to stand back and rely on the machinery of the state, the industrial machinery of the state, which of course must be engaged and has been engaged on multiple occasions. But I think the government now needs to be more assertive than that and become a broker and a positive influence in sorting this out and just bringing relief to everybody who wants to have a smooth and indeed a prosperous summer.
Thank you very much. Minister.
I'm not sure the government can be any clearer in their approach here. The only way that this can be resolved is by parties coming around the table together. Government can't force either party to come around the table. What they can do is stress, outline and highlight very clearly the negative implications that this will have for individuals, for business, the length and breadth of this country, but also for our reputation if this strike were to go ahead. I don't believe that pilots want to see that happen. I don't believe that Aer Lingus wants to see that happen, and that is why I do believe both parties will come around the table. Government is saying very clearly the mechanisms and the industrial mechanisms of the state supported by government are there, they are ready, they are available to support both parties, but they need to come around the table. There needs to be a willingness there. I believe that willingness is there. The support is available to them to do that, and that is what government is encouraging and supporting in the coming days before anybody is disrupted in the way that we've both outlined.